Flag, he packed a bag and went in search of the reasons why Americans are leaving America.
This is a special security announcement.
Do you ever think about hopping on a plane and never coming back? Corey and Matthew Strunk from Calvert County have.
We have joked that, oh my gosh, we have got to get out of here.
Jen Dewberry from Prince George's County too.
Wouldn't it be something to be the granny who lives in Portugal?
International travel experts say they aren't alone. Americans' interest in moving out of the U.S. is on the rise. So I hopped a plane and traveled to a Living Abroad conference in Atlanta to find out why.
I think people are beginning to wonder if the U.S. is as great as they always thought it was.
Jennifer Stevens is the executive director for International Living, a worldwide resource for Americans moving overseas.
And when we talk about these modern conveniences,
In October, International Living hosted this boot camp for people looking to retire abroad.
Where are you from?
Texas.
Texas.
You?
Okay. Maryland.
Hundreds paid for access to information on everything from buying a home in another country to finding an expat community in dozens of overseas nations.
So countries are reacting to this trend
Absolutely.
and recruiting.
Yeah, absolutely. Countries are doing that.
Recruiting, Stevens says, by loosening restrictions on travel and work visas, allowing Americans to live abroad for years without renewing the visa, or in some cases, indefinitely. Will this be forever?
This is forever.
Becky Gommel and her husband live in Marble Falls, Texas, but are planning to leave in the next 12 to 24 months.
Not sure if you have the answer to this. Schools, as a joke, he had said if President Biden got elected, we're gone, we're out of here. And it happened.
And you're out of here.
And we're out of here.
In fact, politics are pushing Americans on both sides of the aisle to pack their bags. International Living reported a 1,000% increase in web traffic after Roe versus Wade was overturned. Significantly drove up clicks for Where Can I Live, a consulting business for people who need help with the logistics of moving to another country.
Moving abroad for most people is a huge undertaking.
I zoomed in Where Can I Live CEO Alison Johnson from her home in Barcelona, Spain. She told me politics and divisiveness aren't the only factors pushing Americans to leave the U.S.
These include cost of living in general, especially at the moment. Cost of healthcare comes up so often. Safety and security, especially those with smaller kids.
But back at that conference in Atlanta, people I spoke with said the moving abroad trend is less about people who are fed up with our country and more about Americans looking for a different life experience. And then there are the growing number of digital nomads, Americans who can work remotely, even internationally post-pandemic.
It was more like, okay, I don't have to make a lot of money. I don't have to work too hard.
Jessica Ramesh now calls Panama home.
I think that there's always a risk when you're running from instead of running to. I think your reasons for going abroad have to be deeper than that.
For some, the American dream lies overseas. The big picture is a dwindling sense of confidence in the American dream. Some U.S. citizens are flocking to foreign countries in search of more affordability and flexibility than they experienced in the U.S. Only 36% of respondents said the American dream, defined in this case as, if you work hard, you'll get ahead, still held true, per a Wall Street Journal poll from October. That's a steep drop from previous polling. Meanwhile, younger Americans are struggling to get on the housing ladder, and Americans of all ages are increasingly pessimistic about the opportunities that will be available to the next generation, as one recent NBC poll found. At the same time, opportunities presented by remote work and expat lifestyles reflected in social media posts have led some Americans to consider life overseas. Since 2020, there has been a rise in digital nomad visas. Dozens of countries now offer a visa pathway, enabling remote workers to legally reside in the host country for a year plus under certain conditions. Across social media sites, including TikTok, some Americans are documenting their new lives outside of the U.S. while expressing shifting attitudes about the American dream. J.P. Stonestreet and Amelia Basista, two married American expats who left Colorado to move to Ecuador in 2017, now run a business to help people to live abroad and earn online income. What they're saying: we grew up in a country of opportunity for everybody. If you were smart and worked hard, You could achieve the American dream, and that is not the case anymore. It just takes one unforeseen incident to completely change that and take the dream away from you, said Stonestreet, who cited high living costs in the U.S. as a major part of the couple's decision to leave. Stonestreet and Basista said they have seen a large increase in the number of people both thinking about and making the decision to move. Most of their online followers are people nearing or at retirement who realize they cannot afford to live in the U.S. anymore and are seeking a higher quality of life for a lower cost of living elsewhere. Though the two became mired in medical, student loan, and credit card debt prior to leaving the U.S., the pair is now debt-free since moving to Ecuador. Both in their 50s, the two said they are aging in reverse, which they mostly attribute to reduced stress from living outside of the toxic hamster wheel they refer to as the U.S. No data from a U.S. federal agency explains the true extent of Americans leaving the states for life abroad. As of 2020, the State Department estimated that 9 million U.S. citizens lived overseas. But according to a department spokesperson, the agency no longer provides these estimates. U.S. citizens are not required to register their travel with the department, that the agency does not want to provide potentially inaccurate figures. It remains the case that many more people are seeking to move to the U.S. than away from it. However, for younger generations of Americans, the world beyond the U.S. has grown more easily accessible and perhaps more appealing. Thank you for watching, guys. As always, please consider giving me a like and subscribe. Catch you all in the next video. Have a lovely day.